Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Troy J. Bacon, and I'm your friendly host from the Seattle UFO Network. And we are hosting Michael Brein as a guest today. Michael Brein has been on many radio and TV shows. He's been on CNN, Coast to Coast for sure. He's been all over the media, as well as he has his Road to Strange books out, and now they're available in a collection. Those have been on our SUFON Facebook page, and I don't know if I posted on Meetup. I think the picture of it is on Meetup, the Meetup group. So anyway, Michael will be telling, I believe, 4 different stories today, on topics such as spooky and paranormal, fun, and I think mysterious. And Michael will explain each story and what is involved. We are in for a treat for this Halloween season.
Let me try and scare you, since it is Halloween. And I'm a little scared by the stories that I'm telling, but the ones that I have to share are not meaningfully, in a meaning to scare you. These don't seem like they're the horrible, frightening sorts of experiences that people have, but nonetheless, they have me shaking my head in wonderment. Let's get into the first one. The first story of a group that I've pulled out of my research and my writings. And this one is in an area where we live, any of us in the Seattle Pacific Northwest area. And this is a story of somebody I just recently interviewed who shared this experience with the Hotel Manresa Castle, no less, a story in Port Townsend, Washington, a hotel in Port Townsend, Washington, that's had a reputation of ghost stories. In particular, room 306. Troy, can you show the story 1, photo 1 of 3? This is a picture of the Hotel Manresa Castle. And I would like to say to you, no, that's it, arrow down. Go ahead, you're good. Arrow down a little bit more. The story is at the top. The picture is at the top of the hotel. There we go.
This one,
That's me above the hotel, but that's the Hotel Manresa Castle. And the first time I looked at that hotel, I thought, my God, I think this place must be haunted. And it turns out it is. Now, I'm not taking psychic credit for it, but I'm certainly not the only one who looks at an old hotel. But look at it. It's got 3 stories. Let's go to the second picture of that. Picture 2 of 3 of that one. Okay, that's immediately to your left. Left. That's it. Click on that. Yeah. Okay, that one is a selfie taken by a woman named Stephanie. Actually, it wasn't light enough for her to really get a good selfie, but she was taking a multiple quick selfie picture. And let's go to the next one. You can see in the back, there is a window. Okay, click on that next one so we can put that in the center of the screen. Very good. All right, now let your eyes get acclimated to this window for a second. And you see that sort of bright light kind of on the bottom, and that's to her left of her shoulder. Look up. And if you'll see a dark face with a white hood, like a white hooded robe. And that is the window, looking out of the window 3 stories up. Okay. Her brother was in that room and he was asleep because he had put in a long working day, and her husband was sitting opposite her, and nobody had a hooded figure. That is, beyond a doubt, a very interesting photo. And I spent quite some time with Stephanie interviewing her, and I think this is for real. I really think this is the real deal. All right, let's close out that one. And now this is very, very interesting. With Rosemary Ellen Guiley, I co-authored 2 of our books in my Road to Strange series. She and I did the first 2 books together, and Rosemary sadly passed on in 2019. We were going to do more books. Look at the window. It takes a little bit of time to get acclimated to this. Troy, can you move the arrow to the upper tier, a little bit to the left? Come down to that first tier of pictures in the window. Down a little bit more. A little bit. Okay, now slowly move right. Okay, now stop. Now look at that. Is that not, I say to you, a girl's face in the window? If you look at it long enough, let's lower it down to the right. And this is a little bit harder for me to see, but if you go over to...
Yeah, I got a picture at least, but I'm still not getting any sound.
Troy?
Yeah, hold on. Wendy, please mute yourself.
Yeah, picture. What? Oh, you got him there.
Yeah, but I'm not getting any sound.
What's that other thing?
It's probably something that Mike is showing, a ghost story.
Oh,
Because remember, he did.
I'll get her to mute.
I muted them.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that, Michael. You may continue. So you see a little girl's
Okay, you see the little girl's face in that upper square, and the little boy's face. I'm not quite sure where that is. It could be to the
Hello,
left.
can you hear us?
can you hear us now?
He kind of turned his head when we did that.
So
Shake your head
this
up and
is
tell me
what
that,
they
so
have
they know.
on the screen.
Right. Mute.
Okay.
All right. Okay, hopefully you've muted. Not that you're mutants, but thank you for muting. All right. Anyway, at least you see the little girl's picture. All right, now let's go over to the next picture. This is an inn in Gettysburg. Rosemary Ellen Guiley was my co-author. There's the little boy, just to the lower right of the girl's face, and it looks like his arms, and looks like a white sweater or something. Anyway, Rosemary was one of the world's most proficient and informed psychic and paranormal and UFO researchers till her sad passing in 2019. We did 2 books together in the Road to Strange series. This one, she said they were in an inn in Gettysburg, viewing much of the battlefields of Gettysburg. And she said during the night of their stay at this bed and breakfast, everybody claimed at breakfast in the morning that who was moving furniture around on the floor above us? Was that you? They were all accusing one another of moving furniture around in the middle of the night. Well, we all have heard stories of hauntings and hotels and ghost stories of things moving around and sounds being made. Well, they all swore they weren't moving and stuff around. And Rosemary said that the picture of the little girl and little boy on this window, they were not inside the hotel. These were not living people. These were, according to Rosemary Ellen Guiley, ghost reflections through the glass of this window. These, my friends, were the ones that were moving the so-called furniture and making a racket. All right. That's the story of the ghost children, ghost kids. of Gettysburg. And I'm just really impressed with especially the picture of the little girl and the little boy right in front of her. If that's what it is, Rosemary swore that there was no such kids anywhere to be seen in this bed and breakfast. All right, let's go on to story 3. The ghost dog story. And there's 2 pictures. And let's flash the second one. Or maybe you can you put 2 pictures up at the same time? That's okay. Leave this one on. This is story was told to me, and we called it the ghost dog. A most interesting story, and it has interesting confirmation that I'm going to share with you in a moment. This is a woman who wrote for the series, what was it called? Blessed by an Angel? Oh, it's a famous TV series. Something, something angel. Does anybody remember what that was? Touched by an Angel. Could that be it?
Yes.
She would go regularly, Susan would go regularly to Salt Lake City, where the writers stayed in a condo that was rented by the television network that produced Touched by an Angel. And she would go there and write while they were doing most of the television production in Los Angeles. And she said that she began to get this uneasy feeling of a dog walking in and around the condominium. And night after night, the dog would sort of approach more to the bedroom where she was sleeping, in a way as if it were acclimating itself to its surroundings again and gradually making its way to the bedroom. And she wasn't afraid, but she was a little bit ill at ease because she couldn't really see a dog, but she just felt that the presence was very reminiscent of somebody's friendly pet dog. And even at the point, I think she felt that the dog approached the bed, was going to jump up on the bed, but she never saw it. But she was nonetheless fairly uncomfortable with it, but not fearful because it was never menacing. And I'm not saying the dog, that she imagined this to be exactly what the dog looked like, but she thought it was a strong kind of husky dog like this. And so she couldn't know for certain about this. And whoever heard of apartments or hotels being haunted by dogs? Well, I'm sure some of us have. We've heard stories. And it's interesting if you watch the series Paranormal Caught on Camera, which Rosemary, by the way, used to be part of. She'd appear on a number of those programs. You can see what appears to be images of dogs appearing in some of these behavior of whatever entities that they were representing. You didn't actually see dogs, I don't think, but you saw shadowy movements that were reminiscent of dogs. Anyway, so she came back to LA one day and she was kind of tired. She didn't have a very restful time writing while she was in Salt Lake City. And she was in the coffee room, and one of the other writers came in who had also spent a fair amount of time in Salt Lake City. And Susan's saying to him, you know, I just couldn't get any rest. I was trying to write. It was just so hard to, because I felt like there was something visiting me, some entity there that I couldn't quite see, but I could feel the presence. And he looked up at Susan and he said, "It's the dog, huh?" He had had a similar experience in Salt Lake City when he went there to write.
Oh, goodness.
So that, I mean, you know, these 3 stories to me are very, very compelling. You know, when somebody tells you a story about a hotel that's allegedly haunted. And you have to put it in one of Stanton Friedman's gray baskets, kind of the middle basket, not the one that you have your files on your desk, and not the circular file basket where you toss a case into it. These three cases are so reinforcing to me of incidents. Let's leave the best one for last, not last, but let's move on to the Hotel Transylvania. The hotel, look at that hotel on Devon's, we'll call him Devon's face. Now, I mean, shirt, t-shirt. I have to tell you that if there was such a thing as an urban legend, or it was being written right as I spoke, right as I interviewed with Devon. Can we show Devon's face? It's okay. He would permit that. That's the next slide, I think. Or it's his arm. Okay, that's Devon. This is the Body, Mind, Spirit Expo in Portland, Oregon. My friends ran this show. They still run it. And I have interviewed, besides Devon, another 450 so people who sat down with me, and I recorded their stories. And his story was an urban legend in the making, right in front of me. Look at this guy. He is and was an aficionado of everything Draculonian. I don't say Draculonian. Can we look at the other picture? I want to show you. This guy was so into this that he has Bela Lugosi tattooed on his arm.
Wow.
So there he has this t-shirt with the Hotel Transylvania. I think it's Hotel Castel Transylvania or Castel Dracula. It is a hotel in Romania and Transylvania that has been made over and done over for, as Devon was saying, the Americans who come here every Halloween and do it up, party it up. So, okay, what did Devon have to say? All right. Devon is an artist, a commercial artist. There was nothing about how Devon spoke with me, how he told the story that led me to doubt his credibility whatsoever. He was a believable guy. Some people would say you're nuts. Look at this guy. He's got a patch of Bela Lugosi on his arm, a t-shirt. He is fixated on Count Dracula in Transylvania because he said to his girlfriend, for my birthday celebration, let's go somewhere. And he would let her pick it out. And she, of course, said, let's go to Transylvania for Halloween, for his birthday. So they go to Transylvania. They go to Romania. They go there and they decide they're going to spend Halloween weekend in Hotel Transylvania, shall we call it. And that's exactly what they do. And then they have a little bit of a restless night. He says in the morning, he had a slight scratch across his wrist. She had what looked like a puncture wound on her wrist. He said he had a photo of this. He would try to find it and send me the photo, but I never did get a photo of it. So, my God, if there cannot be a more perfect urban legend than this. This guy is fixated with Dracula for his whole life, and he goes there on a Halloween night, and they claim to have had these experiences. Nobody else in their group had anything like this happen to them. And I suggested to him, I said, do you think there's a chance, just a slight chance, that maybe your whole life has led up to this event of going to Romania, to Transylvania to have this experience? And he shook his head and he said, I never really thought of it that way, but who knows? So these were several hotel experiences of haunted hotels. Let's go to the last hotel, the last one. Okay, I don't know. Some of you may be familiar with Hotel de Haro. Anybody raise your hand if you've ever heard of Hotel de Haro? It's on our neighbor island off of the Olympic Peninsula. It's on San Juan Island, and this is a fairly luxurious resort. That guy standing there looking towards the hotel is my cousin, my first cousin, Jeff, who lives here. And we took his boat and we went sailing over to San Juan Island, several of us, and we had dinners in this hotel. And again, I had my feeling. I looked at this Hotel de Haro for the first time and I thought to myself, my God, this place is haunted. You know, it just looked like, it just had that feeling. You see, it's kind of a dreary day. Well, I have had about 3 visits to Hotel de Haro, and on 3 different occasions, I talked to 3 different collections of people, and I interviewed them and I recorded them to do a story. Now, Jeff was there with his girlfriend, and she's in the book, and so is he in the book that I wrote on this experience, The Road to Strange. And this was a collection of experiences of people who have had multiple experiences, whether UFO experiences or psychic experiences. But Jeff and his girlfriend had an interesting experience in their hotel room in the Hotel de Haro on, I'd say, the second of the 3 years that we visited this place. The first one were a couple of hotel clerks who I got to sit down with me in the hotel lobby, and they were telling me there were experiences of door handles shaking violently, and they open the door and there's nobody behind them. Such things like that. That was that tale told to me. And then one of the night managers, who was also a security guard for the hotel, he told me an experience he had when they went up to a burial area which had a mausoleum, and there were several of the original families, members of the owner of the original Hotel de Haro, buried at this mausoleum. And he said he and his wife were going up in that direction one night, and they saw a limousine pass them to go up to the mausoleum. And I was up at that mausoleum. I drove up to that mausoleum. There's no way to drive out except around the way you came in. He said when they went up there, there was no black limousine there. There was no limousine there. He swears up and down that car could not have gotten past them without returning, and there was nobody there, and he thinks it was a family member, a haunting of a family member going there. There was a story of a woman that supposedly jumped to her death from another area that is now a restaurant that's tied in with the Hotel de Haro, but they're not sure that really happened, and it hasn't been repeated that much. That particular story of a woman maybe jumping to her demise, but Jeff and his girlfriend stayed one night in the hotel, and she said there was such a ruckus of people out in the hallways making noise and this and that. And who of you have been inside the Hotel de Haro? All right, inside are crooked stairs like the old fun house that you used to walk on, and the floors would go back and forth, and you'd get scared. You thought you were going to be swallowed up by this haunted house. And so Jill was her name. Jill looked out the door and there was nobody in the hotel. It was off season, nobody to be seen, no kids, teenagers, young adults making a ruckus or a racket. And they swear to this day there was nobody in that whole wing of the hotel. So that was something else. The following year, the last time I went to the hotel, where we came to this island on Cousin Jeff's boat, the last time we came to the hotel, I talked to the waiter who said, I'll meet you the next day to tell you my story. And I met him and interviewed him. And he said one of his fellow wait persons, was at the hotel, and they had these closets with glass doors that you would open and shut and put the plates, pile up the plates and the dishes in this cabinet. So he bring dishes up, put them in the cabinet, close the doors, go down, get more dishes, and come back up to find all the doors open again. And this happened several trips down to get dishes, come back up. I think he was the only one doing it. Nobody else was around. Well, he quit his job. He left. He never came back. This waiter said he was
My.
scared out of the Hotel de Haro. Scared. All right. So that is basically the 5 planned stories I had to tell you. But I originally asked a question before we really got started, and that is, are people talking more these days about hauntings and psychic phenomena as they are about UFOs and UAPs that seem to be happening? And my inclination is yes, people are being more open. They're less afraid to be ridiculed. They're more willing to tell their stories. And so I heard a few stories about people who were kind of doubting Thomas's or doubting Mary's. Not Mary Kennedy is with us today. I don't think Mary's is doubting. And for example, people coming out of the woodwork saying, well, let me tell you what happened here. This happened recently in the Seattle area. I had friends of friends living in Silverdale who sold their house in Silverdale, moved to Seattle, and started refurbishing a house and making it really livable. And they moved in the house and they got scared out of the house. They got scared out of the hauntings that were taking place in this brand new home that they purchased and spent a lot of money fixing it up. And among the things that they told me, she was going to sit down and tell me the whole story in detail, but it turned out she was too frightened to tell the whole thing. So I only got this part of it in bits and pieces, if at all. I don't think they would have talked about it ever to their friends. I got it through a few people, a little bit from them. And that was the toilet rolls would be spinning around on the toilet handles and they would unravel and the toilets would flush by themselves. Well, I think we've all had toilets that might flush by themselves once in a while, but they said it was like a cat, like a ghost cat coming up and pawing on the toilet roll. But there were other things that I couldn't get out of them, and it scared them away. They sold the house. They moved back to Silverdale. That was one. Another couple of people who I see at the swimming pool in in Bainbridge Island fairly frequently, told me that they saw dark shadow figures in their rooms in their home on occasion. Dark shadows that you can't make out any clear, distinct form. And they were a little hesitant to talk about it, but they did, and they believed it, and I think they felt comfortable in sharing the story with me because I'm known as the kooky guy in the hot tub, I think. So that was another one. Another interesting one, and this was fun for me to do this story. I interviewed another hot tub friend who in his youth, with his rambunctious teenage friends, put on a fake Bigfoot incident. He said he was carrying the guy on his shoulders. He had a big bear fur coat, bear thing, and a mask, ran across a road somewhere south of Seattle. And then police came and people came and stopped and were looking. Where's the Bigfoot? Where's the Bigfoot? Anyway, he said that his wife, who is a Native American elder in our area, by the way, interesting, had the experience in their home, in their Suquamish home, of she would say, honey, was that you walking down the hallway? Is that you? He says, nope, wasn't me. And he heard footsteps in another part of the house, sort of repeating footsteps on a couple of occasions. And it was funny because I wanted him to have a payback time for his fake Bigfoot incident. Now, I don't know how many of you may have heard of the psychologist Matt Johnson. Yeah, so Carol has. And I met him in Grants Pass, Oregon, when I was living down near Ashland and Medford, Oregon, and interviewed him about his Bigfoot experiences that he had. Now, he was, and probably maybe still is, a psychological family therapy practitioner. And he's not somebody that's going to make up a story like this. It's a easy, surefire way of destroying a psychological family practice by starting to go out there and say you've had these experiences. But he described his experience of where he ran into what he thought was like a 9-foot figure that was in near Cave Junction, Oregon. There's a big federal forest down there. And he had a friend who had come to the States from Africa who was co-researching other kinds of life forms and so on and so forth. At the time I interviewed him, I brought up the issue of, did you ever hear any strange beeping sounds or noises in the forest? Did you ever hear any of these things? And they said, yeah, kind of heard stuff like that, but they never thought that the Bigfoot phenomena was anything but just another form of wildlife, another form of offshoot of humanity. And so he changed his mind over time. He showed me, when I was up at Grants Pass, plaster cast footprints of those really large footprints. So what I did is I followed up the story of Matt Johnson's Bigfoot experience. I followed that faking of a Bigfoot experience with what I thought is a legitimate one, to get back at my friend Doug, who was in the hot tub telling me of this prank that they did when they were growing up. So I'd like to open it up to questions and a little discussion at this point, Troy. Can we do that?
Yes, certainly. I would like to start just with a bit of a commentary and story related to what you were just sharing, Michael. So just the other day on Facebook, it was Kelly Rainbow Butterfly. She's been on with us before, who commented on one of my posts. I was asking my friends about which of them might be able to help me figure out what has been moving things in my home unexplainably. And Kelly suggested that it could be Bigfoot, and I don't say that's impossible, but I don't think that's the case in my home at this time. But it was interesting because just the other day people were commenting saying that Bigfoots can show up in homes, and especially the juveniles will sometimes, especially if they're comfortable with the person's energy, and if they're comfortable with the energy of the home, I believe. And so it's interesting that that came up, and now you mentioned someone seeing a probable actual Sasquatch person in their home. And so that's interesting. I haven't heard that in years, actually.